Yo, what's up, dudes? Well, here we are with the last video of 2018, though you're probably not going to see this until a few days into 2019. These are the guitars of 2018. I like to do this at the end of the year. I usually miss a year or two, but this year I figured we'll get it done, and then maybe at some point we'll get this video edited and up. My editor's off for the holidays, so maybe he'll return after January 2nd. This was the first guitar of the year. This showed up on Guitar Center used somewhere right around the first week of January. I picked it up right away. I love the neck through construction. It's got this wonderful bird's eye maple fingerboard, stainless steel frets. I love the Spurzell locking tuners and the Allen Holdsworth sort of like mini headstock with the 2/4 layout. It's obviously a neck through design with the strings coming through the back. What else? It's got coil cuts and an out of phase switch. The humbucker sound is just okay. Not crazy about the humbucker sound in this guitar. I think it's almost a little too mid-pushed, has a little bit of a vocal vowel sound. But in single coil mode, it sounds awesome. So I tend to run it in single coil mode most of the time. Maybe I'll switch the pickups out, but unlikely. Probably far more likely that I'll just keep it the way it is. Leave it in single coil mode when I'm using it, and, at some point, maybe change the pickups. Probably not. All right, this was the first guitar of the year. I think right after this, I went to the NAMM show, and then I think there was a box waiting for me when I got back from the NAMM show, if I remember correctly. So let me go figure out what was in that box, and I'll see you in a second. All right, we're back. So this was one of the guitars in the box. I got a box of 2 guitars from Harley Benton, and this was one of the guitars. This is I think it's called an SC for single cut. I think it's the 450, and I think it's GT for gold top. Set neck, die-cast oil-filled tuners, sort of P90 style pickups, binding around the neck, binding around the fretboard. Not bad for $150. I think that it's just a testament to how far manufacturing has come over the years, because back in the late 80s, a guitar like this would have been $300 or $400, which, think about that money today, right? You couldn't get a nice set neck guitar for that kind of money. If this was back in the 80s, this would be a bolt-on. There'd be no binding anywhere. The frets wouldn't be nearly this clean. It would just be the most garbage everything from head to toe. Again, it just goes to show you how far we've come in manufacturing. It's just unbelievable. As someone who worked in a music store for 10 years, the thought of one of these being on the shelf for $150 is like astounding to me. More like $450. Anyway, it's not perfect. It's got a couple little finish flaws around the pickup. There's an under the finish flaw, like right in the back of the neck. You can't feel it. It's under the finish. It's like a dent that they filled in. I mean, it's not perfect, but geez, for this kind of money, and it weighs, got a good weight to it. A pretty decent guitar. I do play this, on a pretty frequent basis because I like the single coils. I like the P90 sound. Right. All right, dudes. Well, there was another guitar in that box. Let me go grab it, and I'll see you in a sec. All right, we're back. This was the next guitar. As you can see, it is pretty much a copy of like a Gretsch. If I had to guess, I'd say Gretsch. And the white screams White Falcon to me. I love the Art Deco tuners on it. Bigsby style bridge. It's got a roller bridge on it. Bigsby style tremolo. It's got a roller bridge, Filtertron style pickups. It's a big, thick, fully acoustic. Right, it's not a semi-hollow. It's a fully hollow body, like the clear plastic pickguard. Kind of cool. And this was a guitar that, just sort of Wasn't on my radar, but I was really happy that they sent one over because it's way cool. I mean, brings out your inner Brian Setzer when you get a guitar like this. You know, you've been playing Stray Cat riffs all night. And I think for country, amazing, right? And just that whole blues, rockabilly, it's good to have one guitar like this in your, you know, in your stable. You know. So I don't think I ever made a dedicated video to this, but I'm sure we will in 2019 at some point. It's a little tricky to do a video in my standard style because I tend to have a hot mic, and that guitar is pretty loud. It's very acoustic, so it's hard to play. You're going to get a lot of that acoustic string noise through the mic. So I've got to do it where I isolate when I record the audio, you know. Just more work. But this is the guitar that was the third of the year. All right, so let me think about it, but I'll go find whatever one was next, and I'll see you in a sec. All right, dudes, we're back. So this was the next guitar, the Framus Legacy Series Parlor Acoustic. Solid mahogany construction. It's got a solid mahogany top, a laminated mahogany back and sides, a three-piece mahogany neck, binding on the body, binding on the neck. I think it's an ebony fingerboard with an ebony bridge, ebony, you know, pins, and, you know, nice old style slotted headstock. I actually play this guitar quite a bit. It's just one of those guitars that's small and easy to play, easy to pick up, not a chore to, you know, to get up in your lap and just very quickly play. Oh, you know, it's like I see something on TV or I see something, I'm like, oh, let me just check that out real quick. I'll use this one a lot. I keep it on a stand pretty close to where I, you know, I sit here at my desk, and, you know, I use it for this desk here. I actually have a different guitar I use on that desk, but we'll get to that at some point. But yeah, I use this guitar quite a bit. I really do love this little parlor acoustic, and I find myself using it on a pretty frequent basis. All right, well, that was the Framus. Let me take a look. I'm sure I had another guitar come in right after this. I'll go check the photographic evidence, and I'll be back in a sec. All right, so we're back. So the next guitar was this one here, the Danelectro 59X. This was sort of a funny, funny in the way it showed up. I had done a couple of pedal videos for them. I think the Pride of Texas and maybe the Cash Cow and the Big Spender, right? And I saw them at NAMM last year. I ran into them at NAMM. So I said, hey, you know, I'd love to check out a guitar. And they're like, yeah, cool. And usually when you say that, you know, you get an email follow-up saying, hey, great to see you at NAMM, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to send you out a guitar. Here's a tracking number. Nothing. Just a couple of weeks later, the same day, I'm pretty sure the same day I got the Parlor acoustic, I was checking out the acoustic, and I heard, like, commotion on the porch and a little bit of a thud. And I looked out, and there was a box out there. I was like, huh? And I went out there, and this was in it. I love the lipstick humbucker. It can be coil cut, the P90. It's a pretty lightweight guitar because, you know, it's a hollow, right? It's a hollow body guitar. This might be a solid spruce body, but I don't think it is. I think this is still the Masonite. I could be wrong. That feels a little hollow. What else on this guitar? I love the small little bottle headstock. Again, makes it unobtrusive. Because of its sort of like its narrow profile, its unobtrusive nature, I tend to keep this guitar pretty much always by my other desk. And again, it's just sort of my go-to guitar when something comes up on YouTube, something's on the radio, something's on television, and I'm like, oh, what did they just play there? And I'll grab this guitar, and very quickly, again, I like the stop tailpiece because I can tune very quickly, and I don't have to worry about a floating bridge or anything like that. Like, I couldn't really do what I do with this guitar with a floating tremolo, because it would just be, I'd always be out of tune with whatever I was working with, whereas this, very quickly tune it up and get it ready to go. I do like this guitar a lot. I play it quite a bit. All right, so that's the Danelectro 59X. Let me think about it. There might be a little bit of a gap between this and the next guitar, but let me think. I'll go find the next one, and I'll see you in a second. All right, we're back. This was the next guitar, the 62 Fender AVRI reissue. I guess RI is reissue. It's the AVR. It's the American Vintage reissue. So this is a bit of a parts caster. This was on Guitar Center used for $10.99, marked down to $7.99, and I walked out with it for $5.99. I probably could have got it for $4.99. I regret not lowballing them a little bit more. The guitar is basically a parts caster. I opened it up, and you can take a look at all the markings in the pocket and on the neck. August of 1999, it's a 62 reissue body. It's all lacquer, all that stuff. The neck is from October of 2016, a lot newer, 17 years younger than the body. And that's a 59 neck, which you Strat aficionados go, hey, that's a 59 neck, because of the clay dot inlays and lack of a custom shop. You're not going to get clay dot inlays on a 62 unless it's custom shop or it's an original 62. That's the only way. But if you were trying to make a 62 look like a real 62, you might pull a 59 neck off and stick it on a 62 body, because this is really what the 62s look like. They didn't look like they're 62 reissues. Those aren't actually period correct. This is period correct. So I think that's what the guy was going for, whoever made this up. When I first plugged it in, I noticed that the pickup sounded a little familiar and were bright. I was like, God, if I didn't know any better, I'd say those sound like Fender Custom Shop 69s, because I have those in my player Strat. That's exactly what they are. They're gray felt bottom, with the holographic sticker, Custom Shop 69s. So, pretty decent pickups in it. He had a plain plate on the back, and I had this custom shop plate. I just threw this on. And that's about it. It's, it's one of those guitars that if I was going to sell it, I might even part it out. I'd probably get more money by selling the parts. A 59 neck sold on eBay right before I bought this for $6.25. So I could probably get all my money back with just the neck if I wanted to. But I don't think so. I really like the guitar. It's probably, my nicest, if not one of my nicest Strats. It's nice to have sort of a nice vintagey look like this. And I love the Sherwood grain. Big fan of it. And I love 69 custom shop pickups. I had to move them a little bit away, though. They were a little too hot. I had to bring them down. See, I always thought the 69s were a little vintagey, but I find that when they're a little too close, they get a little too bitey, a little too much. So I back them off a little bit. All right, that's the 62. One little side note about this: it came with a hard shell case. The hard shell case happened to actually be the hard shell case for a Fender The Strat. It actually had a Fender The Strat manual in it, and I recognized the case because I owned a Fender The Strat brand new in 1981. Bought it right off the shelf. And so I have my 82 that I bought about 6 years ago. It didn't come with a case, but now I have the matching original Fender The Strat case to go with it. So a bit of a bonus. I could probably just get a tweed case for this, and then they would each be in their respective cases. So there's that. All right, dudes, let me go figure out what the next guitar is, and I'll see you in a sec. All right, we're back, and the next one up, and it took me a second to find it, but was the, I had to look through the photographs to say, okay, after the Strat, what did I get next? I could have sworn it was another Strat, but it's actually this. A Framus, what do they call this? The Legacy Series Acoustic Concert. And much like the parlor guitar, even more so than the parlor guitar, the quality level on this is just through the roof. Just stunningly, stunningly nice. Solid maple back, solid spruce top, laminated maple, flame maple sides. What else? Although it could be all solid construction. I think the sides are laminated, but I could be wrong on that. It uses, I just want to be clear on this. It uses, is it a maple binding or is it a hide binding? That's what I'm trying to determine right now. It is a maple binding. The grain doesn't match, right? Maple binding on the body, maple binding on the neck. A beautiful piece of maple surrounds the ebony fretboard. Ebony bridge, ebony pins. All right, I think I got one more guitar. Let me go dig it out, and I'll see you in a sec. All right, we're back. So this was the last guitar of the year. This is a Fender Classic 70s, made in Mexico. What makes it 70s is the ash body, so it's got a little weight. 3-screw bolt-on neck. The oversized headstock, CBS. The classic tuners, the old vintage style 70s tuners. The bullet truss rod adjustment. And, that's about it. I love the pickups on this. It's a wonderful sounding set of pickups on this. And I got this guitar really, really cheap. It was a total impulse buy. It was up on Guitar Center used for $274.95, that's right in my zone. And I called them up because, there was one of two possibilities. It was listed as a standard Strat in fair condition, but the photo showed this guitar, which doesn't look in fair condition, and it's not a standard Strat. So there was one of two possibilities. Either it was a standard Strat, and the picture was wrong. They needed a white guitar, and they just found any white guitar pick they had. They threw it up there. Or whoever took it in didn't know exactly what they had. Thought it was just a standard Strat because they saw the oversized heads. They don't even know. Right? That's what you're hoping for, and that's exactly what it was. So I call him up. Sure enough, it was the guitar in the picture. Sure enough, that guy was like, I'll be honest, if I took it in, I probably would have taken it in great condition and not fair condition. I think the fair condition was it was missing the back plate. Sometimes when you're missing something, they'll call that fair because it's missing a part. But who cares, right? File that under who gives a shit. So I was all over it. It took a little bit to buy it. He was having trouble selling it to me because the computers were all screwed up. But I was convinced someone else had already purchased it because they saw what I saw, the very inexpensive, version of this guitar. So, I was all for it. And he was able to sell it to me. It took a little bit, but we were able to get it. And just to underscore being nice to people, I believe that was right. That was the Friday before Labor Day weekend. And I called him at about 11 o'clock in the morning. They had just opened up. And when we were done with the transaction, he says, "All right, man, we'll get that out to you as soon as possible." I said, "Oh, don't worry about it. If you can get it out today, great. But if not, don't worry about it. Have a good weekend, and I'll just see it next week." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, no, cool. We'll see what we can do. But thanks, and all this stuff." They got it out that day. I think if I said to him, "Hey, man, I really want that for the weekend. If there's any way you could get it out today," it'd be like, "I don't know if we can do that." So, it's always better just to be a little nice and say, "Hey, look, if you can get it out today, great. But if you can't, no worries. No worries. It's cool." And sure enough, he did get it out that day. It was on my porch the next day by like 5 p.m. And I was pretty damn happy about it. All right, so that was the guitars of 2018 that were acquired. Now let's take a look at the guitars we lost in 2018. Yeah, pretty quick, huh? Yeah, the only one that went this year was the Chapman 7-string. I love the guitars, fit, finish, playability. Thing sounded great, played great. Everything was awesome about it except for one thing. It had a 7th string on it. And what I've realized is that I can't stand 7-string guitars, and I probably, wouldn't own one again. The great experiment, the great 7-string experiment didn't work out. It's funny because the guy I sold it to texted me a bunch of times, "I love this guitar so much." So it went to a good home, to a guy who really seems to enjoy it. And, you know, that's a good thing. All right, dudes, there you have it. The guitars of 2018. I'm sure we'll be seeing more in 2019. And as always, thanks so much for hanging out. And rock on.